So let's go ahead and get started tonight. A little bit about me. I got my first taste of entrepreneurship right out of high school. I went to work for Technology America here in the Birmingham area, and we were traveling around the whole Birmingham metro and installing new computers in schools, all the public school systems around here. So that was my first job, and as we're doing that, I'm getting paid just basically minimum wage, and as we're doing that, one of the schools decided that they couldn't afford to pay for the, imagine the government not being able to afford it, but the government said they couldn't afford, didn't have the budget for all the new computers we were trying to get for them. And so my boss said, we'll take a trade-in. And so he took a trade-in of the old computers and deducted that from the cost of the new ones and gave them a really good deal. Well, then he had all these old computers that he didn't want them at all because they're very old and ancient. And so he offered them to the employees. He said, I'll give you 125 computers for $1,000. And so I very quickly borrowed 500 from a friend, got 500 that I had saved up, and went to him with $1,000 for 125 computers. For those that aren't very good at math, that's $8 per computer. So pretty good deal, except for the fact that 100 of those 125 were absolute junk. And so they went straight into the landfill. But I kept the monitors from those. And I contacted another computer store in the area, said, hey, I've got these monitors. They're nice VGA monitors. I'll sell them to you for $10 a piece. And he jumped on that, which was a real good deal for the monitors. They were selling about $50 for used monitors, $50. So I was selling to him for $10. He then turned around and sold them for $25 a piece. His customers were happy, he was happy, and I was happy. So I sold 100 monitors for $10 a piece. That's my initial $1,000 investment back. And then I still had 25 computers that were decent computers that worked. And so I upgraded those computers, got them all repaired, and sold those for about $5,000 total for the 25 computers. So I made more on that little side hustle than I did in the entire summer working for Technology America. So that I really got bit by the entrepreneurship bug at that time. I didn't go straight into business for myself though. I wanted to go into education. I wanted to teach. So I went off to school, got a degree in education, spent 5 years teaching, coaching basketball, mostly JV, developing talent for the varsity team. And then after 5 years of teaching, ended up having to move back to Birmingham for some situations. We were up in North Carolina is where I was teaching. I ended up having to move back to Birmingham. And when I did that, a friend asked me to help him out with some historical studies. And I enjoyed history, enjoy studying it. So I just agreed to help him out. He sent me a list of questions. That turned into my first book. And that also turned into my first business. I started increasinglearning.com. Started my first business, increasinglearning.com. And that turned into, I still have that business going. Mention that a little bit more after a second here. But I ended up starting over the past 15 years, I've started 5 different businesses, plus 2 nonprofits, and even 1 church. I helped a little bit with starting this church. And so I've become kind of a serial entrepreneur. I see business ideas and I want to get involved. I want to help start them. Most of these businesses were not my own. They're friends or family that wanted to start business, and I just wanted to jump in and get started and help them. And so I did the marketing for most of them. I did a lot of the legal research and background stuff for some of them as well. My first business though, increasinglearning.com is the website for that. I travel, I speak, I write books, all for Christian audiences. I've written on history, theology, politics, medicine, and even a book of songs. So if y'all are interested in any of that, you can go check that out as well. But that was my first business. I was teaching for 5 years, and then at the end of my teaching, a friend also asked me, another friend, asked me if I would help him start his business. He wanted to start a weed control and fertilizer business. He had been doing it for other companies for 30-something years and decided he wanted to go out on his own, but he didn't know how to start the business, how to get it going. So he asked me to come and help with that. So I volunteered to do that and came on as his marketing and sales manager for that business. We grew it up to $1 million business by the time that I left, and then he sold it for a couple million later, a few years later after that. I left that company because my dad wanted to start a business. My dad wanted to start a thrift store. He had been in the thrift store industry pretty much his entire adult life, and again, just wanted to go out for himself instead of working for someone else. So I helped him start Heaven Sent Thrift in Center Point. And how many of y'all are from the Birmingham area, born and raised? Okay, we got one maybe. All right. If you know anything about Birmingham, you know there's a lot of thrift stores in the Birmingham area. And so when we started this thrift store, we had a lot of competition. There's a place in Center Point, that the Center Point Roebuck area, and it's called Thrift Store Alley by the thrift shoppers, because there, at that time when we started, there were 7 thrift stores in a 5-mile stretch of road. And so a lot of competition. And that's just one area of Birmingham. There's several others around. We've got some pretty big ones. We had no marketing budget. My dad started this business on a shoestring budget. He had 0 set aside for marketing. Just barely had enough to get the store open. We had to do all the remodeling ourselves instead of paying someone else to do that. So he didn't know what to do for marketing. I didn't know what to do for marketing. The previous company, I'd had a budget, and so it was kind of easy. I could go out and print mailers and send out mailers. Could take out ads, just whatever I needed to do, but I didn't have any of that for my dad's business. But I'd been on Facebook since 2004. I had used Facebook to promote my first book, ended up selling over 2,000 copies the first year, all through Facebook marketing with that. And I did it without having to pay for any of the ads. I thought, this will be perfect. I can use Facebook for my dad's thrift store. So I started reading on how to do that. No one really had a good method for using Facebook without having to pay a whole bunch in ads. So I just jumped in and said, I'll figure it out myself. And so I developed the 1-10-10 strategy for my dad's thrift store. And that's the strategy I'll teach you today. Specifically because we had no budget for marketing. We could not afford to compete against the big guys. We went from a brand new Facebook page to growing that to 10,000 followers in 5 years. And then from that, we went from having no one seeing our post, obviously, the first couple of posts we put up, no one seeing the post at all, to up to 50,000 people seeing the post every single week. We're putting out a post, and at the time that I left my dad's business, we were getting between 30,000 and 50,000 views every single week on what we put up. Real dollars, that translated into $1,000 per day, directly related to that week's Facebook ad. Whatever we put up that week, ended up selling, and we ended up making $1,000 a day from that. I did A/B testing to make sure those numbers were correct. Whenever there was a holiday, we didn't run a Facebook ad and just thought we'll just do our regular holiday sale. And sales were down $1,000 a day every time that I did that. So we very quickly decided we're just going to run the Facebook post every week. He ended up, by the time I left, he was making $500,000 a year in the thrift store, which is pretty good for a thrift store startup in this area. And so I developed the 1-10-10 strategy with my dad's store. And very simply, it's 1 post a week. You include at least 10 photos in that post, and you share that post in at least 10 groups on Facebook. So just 1 post a week, 10 photos in that post, and share it in at least 10 groups. Very easy to say, very easy to remember. We're going to get into exactly how that works and why it works with the algorithm and gets all those views. Success story, another success story real quick. This was my first client, Water Systems of Alabama. I left my dad's company because my wife had a stroke and we had to move closer to her parents to this side of town where we are now. And it was just too long of a drive to drive all the way up to the other side of a town every single day during rush hour on I-65. So we very quickly decided I needed to find a job down here. Found a job down here, wanted an actual job. I'd been thinking about starting this marketing company and maybe starting on the side. And when we had to move down here, I thought maybe I could do it now, but we needed the medical insurance, the health insurance for my wife. So I went to work for another company. Had other jobs up until this past November. Ended up leaving a company that I had been with. And at first was thinking I'll get another job with another company and I'll start this marketing company on the side. My son's headed off to college. I was thinking once he's gone, we're not going to be doing as much stuff at night. I'll have some free nights every week, so I can start the company then. I was thinking that while I was at that other company. And then when I lost the job at that other company, my wife said, just start it now. Just jump in. We'll tighten the belts. We'll do whatever we need to do. Just start it now. So I started in December. By January, I had my first client, Water Systems of Alabama. They do water filtration. So they're cleaning the water. You all know in this area that's very important. They were struggling though because they've been around for, I think, 30 years. But they were struggling because they didn't have the advertising budget that the big guys had, like RainSoft and Aqua Systems. Those are the two big ones around here. They've got massive advertising budgets, and you see their vehicles going around, you see their commercials on TV and on Facebook and other places. So Water Systems didn't have that kind of advertising budget. They had a Facebook page, and they were hoping that maybe that would bring some business, but they didn't really know what they were doing. They had 285 followers, which is not too bad. Their posts were only getting viewed by an average of 15 people each time they put something up. So 15 people every time they posted something, which they were only posting about once a month. That wasn't going to grow their business at all. So I just knocked on the door one day, told them what I do, and they jumped at it, said, let's go, let's start it and see what happens. The very first post with them, we got 2,000 views on that very first post with only 285 followers. The next post was 4,000 views. And then by the end of that first month, they were getting 10,000 views for their post. And so I was very happy that they were able to do that, and were able to start growing their company, get it seen by more people. It's just following this 1-10-10 marketing strategy. There we go. All right. Before we get into that, people ask me a question when I tell them that I do this just for Facebook. And they'll always ask me the question, why do you just do Facebook? Why not Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, everything? Why not do all of them like all these other marketing companies do? Well, this slide right here is why. 69% of the US adult population is on Facebook 8 times a day. So that's a lot of people spending a lot of time on that one platform. The next closest is Instagram. 37% of the adult population is on Instagram. Now, of course, Instagram's also owned by Meta, the same company that owns Facebook, so you can cross-post between those. But it's only 37%. Facebook has almost double the amount of participants as Instagram does. So when I can reach about 70% of the adult population through one platform, then I'm not really concerned about the others. So that's why I focus just on Facebook. If we total numbers there, 69% of the US population, that's about 180 million US adults that are on Facebook an average of 8 times a day. If we put that local, that means there in the Birmingham metro area, there are 600,000 adults that are on Facebook an average of 8 times a day. If we can break the numbers down even further, there's all kinds of studies out there on who is on Facebook and who's on the different social media platforms. If you look at the demographics, 82% of that 180 million are adults between the ages of 25 and 55. Those are the people that are spending money. They're the ones that are buying from your companies. And then according to, let's say this age bracket, the 25 to 55 age bracket, they spend $600 billion in the US annually. So most of the economy in the US is from this age bracket spending money. So that's the people you want to reach. If you want to reach them, you go where they are. Where are they? They're on Facebook. And so that's why I focus just on Facebook. That's why your business needs a Facebook page. And you need to be active on Facebook, not just having the page. You need to be reaching people on Facebook. If you compare that to the newspapers, this graph here, the newspaper industry from 1940 to the year 2000, and you can see about 2000 is when it really started declining. That was when everything started going over to digital. But from 1940 to the year 2000, there were an average of 60 million newspapers printed every single day in the US. And so if we assume every single one of those papers was purchased and it was distributed to a house, you have an average of 2 adults per household. So that's a potential readership of 120 million that the newspapers had for 60 years, 1940 to 2000. So they had a potential reach of 120 million. Facebook, they're not looking at potential, they're looking at actual numbers. They know exactly who is looking at Facebook. Facebook has 180 million. So that's a 50% increase in Facebook's actual viewership versus the newspaper's potential readership. And it made sense back in the day to advertise in the newspaper. That's where all the businesses were advertising because that's where the people were getting their news. And so since it made sense back then, it would absolutely not make sense to be absent from Facebook as a business now, because that is where the people are and where they're getting their news and their information. However, there are some challenges. It sounds great, 600,000 people locally that are on Facebook. They're all in the age bracket of your clients that you want to reach. So let's just get on Facebook and we're gonna make millions. And a lot of businesses are told that at the beginning, all you gotta do to grow your business, just get a Facebook page and get out there. It doesn't quite work that way. Facebook doesn't want you to just put stuff on your page and all of a sudden get millions of views, because then you would never pay them. So they throttle it back with their algorithm. On average, a business page on Facebook gets whatever they post. That post is viewed by 6.4% of their followers. And that's just the people that follow their page. And then of those people, statistics show that only 3.9% of those people actually do something based on what they see on Facebook. So take an action of some sort. Call the company and say, I want to get your service, or visit the website, do anything. Only 3.9% that see it actually do something. So if you had a page with 1,000 followers, Facebook is going to show your post to 64 of your followers. Every post that you put up, about 64 people will see it if you have 1,000 followers. If you take 3.9% of that, you're looking at only 2 people from that post, from those 1,000 followers, 2 people that are going to take some kind of action. That doesn't mean they're going to buy. It just means they're going to take some kind of action. They might call, they might visit your website, something. So that's pretty abysmal numbers. And that's what we found when we first started the Facebook page for my dad's store. When every company I've started, when we first start the Facebook page, it's pretty abysmal, the low number of people that see what you put up there. There are 2 standard solutions. If you were to go out there and check any of these guys, these are some of the most popular social media advertising books on the market. I don't know if any of y'all are big readers for nonfiction. I've read most of these. You got Alex Hormozi up there, Gary Vaynerchuk, some pretty big names in marketing that are out there giving some advice. They give 2 solutions for reaching people on Facebook. The number 1 solution is just post a whole bunch. And they say if you're only getting viewed by 6.4% of your followers, put up another post, and maybe a different 6.4% will see that one. And you put up another post, and maybe a different 6.4% will see that one. And another post, and maybe a different 6.4% will see that one. In fact, Alex Hormozi says that you should be creating 40 pieces of content every single day as a business. And I don't know about y'all, I don't have time to create 40 pieces of content for my business every single day. That's just ridiculous. There's no way that's going to happen. But that is the prevailing wisdom for Facebook marketing if you don't have the money for ads. The prevailing wisdom is you go out and you put as much content as you can on social media, whatever platform you're doing. Gary Vaynerchuk, he's gotten a bit of a name for himself lately. He was so into getting so much content, as much content as he could, he actually paid a videographer to just follow him around all day long. And he's just constantly, he's putting his entire day's worth of video on social media every single day, just so he has lots of content that is out there on social media. And they'll mute the audio for some of his meetings because his business meetings, they talk about sensitive information sometimes, so they'll mute the audio, but the videographer's right there and the video is all up and you can watch it live. You can watch Gary Vaynerchuk's life almost 24/7. But that's what he's doing to get all the content out there. I don't want that. I do not want someone following me with a video camera. I mean, it's hard enough to stand in front of a video camera now and present this with y'all. That's definitely not something I want, but that is the prevailing wisdom. Now, there are some drawbacks to that. It does seem logical that if you just keep putting up a whole bunch more posts, Facebook will show it to a different 6.4% each time. However, the algorithm actually penalizes pages that just put up a whole bunch of content. And so the more content you put up, there comes a point where the algorithm says, this is kind of pointless. They're just trying to work the algorithm. They're just flooding useless stuff onto Facebook, and they start penalizing your page, and they don't show your content to that 6.4%. They'll back it down, maybe 5%, and then back it down maybe 4%. And they just, because Facebook doesn't want just a bunch of useless content on the platform. That just waste their server space. There's no point in it. And then when you're trying to create all this content, a lot of times the content itself isn't very useful. I don't know about you, but I don't think it would be very useful to just sit and watch Gary Vaynerchuk all day long. Now, maybe a few clips, yeah. The guy's a brilliant marketer, brilliant businessman. So yeah, I like watching some of the stuff that he does, but I don't want to sit here and watch 8 hours of Gary going through his day. That's just not what I want. So people drop off. They'll come on and they'll engage a little bit, and then they drop off. The quality is lower when you're just putting out so much stuff. Most businesses, when they try to put out a whole bunch of stuff, the type of things they put out is mainly links to blogs that other people have written, links to blog posts that they've written or that they've had AI write for them, links to industry news, or just links to random things, or pictures of just random things that they did, or their pets or their kids. And they try to fill that content with stuff that has very little value to the followers. When you put stuff up that has little value to the followers, they don't want to follow anymore. And so they're gonna end up blocking or hiding your content, so they never see it anymore. Facebook knows they're not seeing your content, and they say, oh, this is a bad content. This is a bad page. We're gonna stop showing it to more people. So again, the algorithm works against you when you do stuff like that. So that's solution number one, and it's not a very good solution, but it is the most common one out there if you were to look on YouTube. How do I grow my Facebook page and grow viewers? Solution number two is what Facebook wants. Facebook wants you to pay for ads. And if you'll notice, every single thing you put up on your business page, Facebook has a little button underneath it, and they'll say, boost this post, and throw a bunch of money at it, and we'll show it to more people. And I used to laugh at that when I was running my dad's, well, I'm still running my dad's page. And I would laugh at it all the time when they would say, you know, if you pay another $30, we'll show this post to 300 more people. And I'm looking at my numbers. Well, it was just seen by 30,000. Why would I pay you $30 to show it to another 300? But they want that. They want you to throw money at them and boost the post. There is potential value in that. If you know what you're doing with paid ads on Facebook, you can make a killing with paid ads. You do have to know what you're doing. It's a very steep learning curve to learn how to do Facebook ads correctly and make a lot of money off of it. That's why there are other marketers that's all they do is paid Facebook ads, and they've gone through that learning curve, so you can pay them, and then you pay Facebook on top of that. And you can actually get some good return with that. It's one of the best returns for your money that's available for paid ads is on Facebook. They get better returns than TV, newspaper, all the other social media platforms, Google SEO, Google AdWords, sorry. They get better returns than all that. So if you have the money to throw at it and you can pay someone to do it, then yes, that is a great option. Unfortunately, most small businesses don't have the money to throw at it. I was talking to someone the other day, and with one of the marketing companies here in town, he said they wanted $1,000 a month for their efforts, so he had to pay them $1,000 a month, and they required a minimum ad spend of $750 a month. And that's the minimum. He had to put $750 a month into Facebook before they would even touch his page, because anything less than that, he wasn't going to get any results. And they said that's how much you're going to have to spend in order to at least see a little bit of return on your investment with the Facebook ads. A lot of businesses just can't afford to do stuff like that, especially when they're getting started. We could not have afforded that. When I started my dad's thrift store, when I started my friend's business, we couldn't have afforded that much. When I started my wife's business, we couldn't afford that much. Started my business, I couldn't afford that much. A lot of businesses just can't afford that. And so I came up with a better solution than that. The better solution is the 1-10-10 strategy. There it goes. And we are going to get into some details here. So that's 1 post per week, at least 10 photos or graphics per post, and shared in at least 10 Facebook groups. All right, so let's go over those numbers. The first one post per week. Remember the Alex Hormozi saying 40 posts a day or 40 pieces of content a day? You don't need that. Most companies don't need that. Did you know that a race car will have its oil changed after every hour of driving? So the race car is on the track for 1 hour, they pull into the pit, they're going to change the oil in that race car because that 1 hour, it's done. It needs new oil in order to run more efficiently. Any of y'all change your oil after every hour of driving? All right, yeah, I don't either. That's because we don't have race cars. We don't run race cars. The advice that is given, that's prevalent on YouTube and in books about posting so much content to Facebook, that advice is mainly for companies that are running race cars. Walmart needs to post several pieces of content every single day. They're an international company. They have a huge following, huge audience they're trying to reach. They need that much content in order to reach that audience. Nike needs that kind of content. Nabisco needs that kind of content. Ford, Chevy, companies like that need that kind of content. Small businesses don't need that amount of content. These other guys, they're giving advice that's for people with race cars. If you just have a Honda Civic going down the road, you change the oil. If you just have conventional motor oil, about every 5,000 miles. Some of the newer technology, you can go 10, 15, 20,000 miles between the oil change, and that's just fine. If you had a Honda Civic, if you were to change the oil after every hour of driving, you would see a tiny, minuscule little bit of performance boost from your Honda Civic, but it's not worth the investment. But that tiny percentage makes a difference if you're talking about a huge company. Percentage-wise for a small company, that's not that big of a deal. But that little bitty percentage for a big company, that can make a big difference. So you can be talking, thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue that they get from the extra little tiny percent of having something every single day. But all you need to do is one post per week as a business. And that one post per week, that works well with the third point, and we'll explain that when we get to the third point, and helps trigger that part of the algorithm. The next point, so you got one post per week. The next is at least 10 photos per post. And I like to think of a peacock, and that's the good illustration for this strategy. Y'all seen peacocks at the zoo or out at nature preserves, wherever you see a peacock. He's got his feathers spread. People stop, they pay attention. Even teenagers will put down their cell phone for a little bit and look at the peacock and ooh and all over it, and then they'll pick it right back up, take a picture, and share it with all their friends. And so the peacock gets a lot of attention because he has that big spread of feathers. But what if you had a lazy peacock that decided, I don't want to put up a big spread of feathers. I just want to put up one feather today, and I'll put up a different feather another day, and I'll put up a different feather another day. And so you see that peacock, he's only got one feather up. He's not going to get much attention. He might get laughed at, but he's not going to have people oohing and awing over him. He's not going to have people, taking selfies with the peacock in the background because it's just one feather. Who cares? It's a lazy peacock. Most businesses, when they put up a post on Facebook, they just have one piece of content in that post. And so if you were to get your phone out right now and scroll through Facebook, you'll see a photo and you'll see some text underneath it. And you go to the next one, it's a photo and some text underneath. The next one, a photo and some text underneath. And then a photo and some text underneath it. And then a photo. Oh, this one's a video. Okay, that's a boring video. Let's keep going. And then it's just one little thing each time. What I advise people to do is, instead of putting up just one piece of content, put up at least 10 photos in that post. When you do that, it puts up a collection, and at the end, the first 4 will be seen in the collage, and then the 5th photo will be shaded, and Facebook will put a little plus symbol and the number of pictures that are hidden next to that or over the top of that shaded photo. That creates a mystery, and humans are psychologically programmed to want to solve mysteries. So we see this mystery. There's extra photos here. And you're scrolling through, all of a sudden there's a collage and there's a little hidden thing, and it tells you there's more here, and so it stops people from scrolling. And stopping the scroll, that's the big keyword or key phrase that people talk about on social media. That's what you want. You want content that will stop the scroll. They see that little plus symbol, they stop and they tap on that or they click on it with a mouse and they want to see what's behind it. As soon as they tap on it or click on it, that's an interaction. Every single interaction that your content gets is recorded by Facebook. Excuse me. Interactions are what the algorithm wants people to have. So when they see that your post is getting interactions, they show your post to more people. Because they say, this post is keeping people on the platform, it's keeping people engaged. Let's show it to more people, and more people stay on the platform and stay engaged. When people are on Facebook and engaged with the content, they see ads, and that's how Facebook makes money. The whole purpose of the algorithm is to get the advertisements that people are paying for in front of potential buyers, because then people will pay for more ads. So if your content is keeping people on Facebook, instead of, remember I mentioned that some of the low quality content is links to blogs, that sends people off of Facebook. And so when people click that link and they go to another website, Facebook says, ooh, bad post. We don't like this post. This post is sending people away. We're not getting advertisement dollars anymore. We're not going to show this post to as many people. But you have a post that people click on and they scroll through and they swipe and they swipe and they swipe. Facebook's algorithm says this is a good post. People are really into this post. This is keeping people's attention. It's keeping them here, and we can show those people more ads. And so that collection of photos is really the best thing that you can do with Facebook right now in order to get the algorithm working for you and show it to more and more and more people. Also, psychologically, when people click on that post and they're interacting with it, they're more invested in your company. They have a mental investment that they have put into your company. They've put effort into seeing more of what you're posting. They're now going to remember your company more. The key for this strategy is brand awareness. Just keep you top of mind for the customers. And so as they're interacting with your stuff every single week that you put something out, they interact, they scroll through the photos, and that just builds up your reputation in their mind more and more and more. But what if you don't have photos? If your business doesn't have photos, what you could put up instead is infographics. And so each point of the infographic could be a different slide in that photo collection. This one here is one that I did for the Water Systems of Alabama, that water filtration company. It's just 15 benefits of in-home water filtration. And each slide, each picture is a different one of those 15 benefits. And so I tell the customers, the viewers right off the bat, there's going to be 15 of these. And they see the first 3 of those 15, and they see that 4th one, and they're wondering, what does this say? They have to tap on it or click on it to see what that 4th one is. And as soon as they do that, that triggers that algorithm to say, this is a good post. And then each time they touch their screen to swipe to the next one, or they click a mouse to go to the next photo, the next piece of information in that infographic, that's building it up with more and more interactions. So you can do this with service-based companies as well as product-based companies, just creating infographics if you're a service-based company that doesn't have a whole lot of photos. Okay, so that is the first 2. You have the one post per week, and you're going to share or include in that post at least 10 photos, and that brings us to number 3, share it in at least 10 groups on Facebook. Now, most of y'all came down 65 to get here today. Let's just imagine that you have a new product, a new service that you're going to advertise, and you have the option. You can put up a billboard out on 65, or you can put up a sign in your office. An 8x10 sign up on the desk of the office. Which one is going to get seen by more people? And obviously, the billboard. The billboard is going to be seen by thousands of people. That little sign in your lobby, that's just going to be seen by the small percentage of your customers who actually come into the office. And a lot of people don't do that anymore. So that little sign's not going to get a whole lot of views. The billboard is going to get a whole lot of views. On Facebook, posting something to your page is like putting up a little sign in your lobby. The only people that could ever see that are the people that follow your page. And only 6.4% of those followers are going to get shown that little bitty sign that you put up, that one post. Even if that post is the collection of 10 photos, it can still never be seen by more than the people that follow your page. Unless, you know, you put paid advertising behind it. If you just put it on your page, that's your limit. Your limit is the followers of your page. However, if you share it in local groups, that's like putting a big billboard out here on I-65 and thousands of people can see it. And so you share it, once you put it on the page, you click the share button underneath it and you share it in local groups that you have joined. Those groups are things like, the ones that I like to use are the What's Happening groups. So you've got What's Happening Trussville, What's Happening Birmingham, What's Happening Pelham, What's Happening Homewood. You can also find some community groups. You've got things like the Alabaster Community Group. You've got neighborhood groups. There's one, Shelby County Neighborhood Community or something like that. There's a whole bunch of different types of groups, and they're all located in specific cities, neighborhoods, or regions. And so those groups are the groups that you want to join as your page. And then when you create your content, you share it into those groups. And then now people that are in those groups see your content, even if they're not following your page. They see the content because it's in a group that they follow. And ever since 2017 or so, Zuckerberg made a change in Facebook that group content gets priority even over what your friends post to Facebook. So when you're scrolling through Facebook, you're going to see more of that comes from groups that you're in than you're going to see from your friends or pages that you follow. And so we want to be posting in those groups because that's what Facebook is focusing on. That's what it's showing to your potential customers. They're fairly easy to find. You just have to search for what's happening and give a city, and dozens of them will pop up. They won't all be right in that city. They'll also show neighboring cities as well. Once you start joining some of them, Facebook will even give you recommendations of others to join. But you do have to go through and read the rules, make sure that you comply with what the groups want you to do for their rules. Sharing in groups is what really makes this algorithm, makes the algorithm work for you. That's the real key to this whole strategy, is sharing in those groups. I use the number 10, that one post per week, at least 10 photos, shared in at least 10 groups, because it's easier to remember. 1-10-10 is easier to remember than 1-10-50. You know, but most of my clients I share in about 50 to 80 groups. So there's no limit. I've got a client that shares in 130 groups. So there's no limit to how many groups you can share in, and you share in every group in the area where you have potential customers, where you want to get business. All right, so that is the basics of the strategy. It's one post per week, at least 10 photos per post, shared in at least 10 groups. Does it work? This is a graph from one of my clients. They hired me to do this strategy. They also hired another big name marketing company to just do the same thing, just content strategy on Facebook, content creation, no paid ads. So you have me and you have another company, Thrive, which is started by the Yellow Pages, massive company. They're all across the US at least. I don't know if they're global yet, but they're at least all across the US. So he's paying both of us to do the same thing. On this chart, all of the tall bars that you see on the chart, those are all my results from every single post that I put for him over a 2-month period. And if you can see it, it's kind of hard to see. You might have to squint. There's a row of itty bitty tiny bars all the way across the bottom. That's what the other marketing company was doing. They were posting, I think it was every other day. They were putting up a post. I was doing one per week. And you can see there's barely even registering. Mine are, at first it was 400 people, and then it went up to like 600 people, and then back down to about 400 or 500 people. And then I told him, hey, we need to get in some more groups. He was only in about 10 or 15 groups at the time. I said, you know, we need to spread this. If there's more groups that are available. And he said, okay, let's do it. So I put him in 30 groups, and that's where you get that great big huge jump right there. All the way up to 2,800 people seeing. This was just a roofing company here local. They eventually dropped the other company, and I got 2 other contracts from partner companies with him because they said our phone has not stopped ringing since you started doing this. And so it works. It really does work. Here's another example, this different type of graph that you can get from Facebook. This is over a 2-month period. Right in the middle, you have December 31st. So starting in January, I started this company. This was a art gallery, Griffith Art Gallery here in town. And so you can see the first post, we get about 400. The next post, it goes up another big jump. That was the next week's post, and then another big jump, and then a real big jump because the post we did there got a whole lot of interactions. By the end of the month, they ended up with over 29,000 people seeing their content over a 2-month period. Sorry, 29,000 people over a 2-month period that saw their content. What's really neat about this graph is that thing right down there at the bottom. See that 0? That 0 is under paid ads. So you got I guess it's kind of hard to see from that distance, but you got the 0 that's circled in the yellow there. That is the paid ads that were put in Facebook, and 0% of these results came from paid ads. It was all from just following this strategy on Facebook. So it does work. I've personally applied this for about 10 different companies. Incredible results for all 10, and then I've taught another 24 or so at this point to do it, and they've all reported back that this is working great. Had several report back to me, we've dropped all other marketing, we've just gone to this because it's all we can handle. We're maxed out just using this strategy. So it does work. All right, we're gonna pause right here, see if anyone has any questions. Any questions from anyone?
How does this compare to like Google Ads?
I don't really know. I haven't run A/B testing for this strategy versus Google Ads because I haven't really bothered with Google Ads at all. I've just gotten, so yeah.
I'm here to learn about it, that's why I asked.
Right.
That's impressive.
I would be interested in seeing it, but for me personally, it's a better deal because since I can do it myself, I can do it for free. Google Ads, I'm having to pay Google for something. So I'm obviously going to get a higher ROI from something I'm getting for free than paid ads from Google. However, this does have a time limit or a time factor to it. For most businesses doing this, at least for the first year or two, it's going to take you about 2 hours a week to do this. So you know, whatever your time is worth, that's how much you're investing every single week into this. And you know, you might get better results with Google Ads. I don't know. I haven't.
And this is using your Facebook, I guess, the business.
Yes, using the business page. Yep. Yeah, the business page, not the personal page. The reason for that is that the business page has a lot of metrics that you can read to make sure it's working. You can see which ads or which posts get the most views. There are some, like with the art gallery. Right now, I posted for them this week something about Paris and the Olympics. And so every single picture we put up for their ad this week was a painting of Paris, of something in Paris, you know, whether it was the Eiffel Tower or something, you know, whatever. None of it actually having to do with the Olympics, just something having to do with Paris. And then we could use the word Olympics in the post because Facebook is favoring things that mention the Olympics right now because that's what people want to see. And so that one's actually doing very well. We had last week, their post, I did not mention anything about the Olympics because I forgot they were coming up, to be honest with you. So I didn't mention the Olympics, and last week's post did fairly poor. It still got a couple thousand views, but it didn't do nearly as well as this week's post is. And so you want to be able to see those things in order to make adjustments. The week of the Super Bowl and Valentine's Day, we did a post featuring Valentine's Day for that company, and it did great. Everyone else, I didn't do anything having to do with Valentine's Day or the Super Bowl, and they all did kind of poorly. But that company got, you know, they had like 12,000 views that week because it was something about Valentine's Day. So you want to be able to look at that so you can adjust your strategy.
Did that company have anything to do with Valentine merchandising?
Well, it's an art gallery, okay. So they had Valentine's themed art, and they were saying, "Buy your sweetheart," you know, this particular item. So. Any other questions?
Okay. What are your thoughts on purchasing a Facebook page? Because I've some folks that have, so you have business, Jane starts a Facebook page for her friends or whatever the type of Facebook page they have, but you can call Jane and say, well, I'll buy your page. and then you can, since now you own the page, you can post whatever you want to on there, but you
Right.
bought a page. Is that?
Yeah, you're buying the audience. Yeah, so that's a viable strategy. A lot of folks have done that, not just on Facebook, but in other things. They'll buy. It's a very popular business strategy right now to build a website and having to do with an industry that you have nothing to do with. You just build a website, you create a bunch of AI created articles about that particular industry, get lots of views on that website, and then you just turn around and sell it to someone that's actually in that industry and say, I've already got the traffic, I've already got the content, here I can sell this to you for X amount of dollars, and now your business has a website that's already tracking in Google and already generating results. And that's pretty common. So you could do the same thing with Facebook, buying pages from people. You would really want to investigate, make sure who the audience is. Are these people that are in your service area, or are these just random people from around the world? Are these people engaged? I would be leery of it unless it's a massive audience that is actually in your service area, because it's just so easy to reach people on Facebook doing this strategy. So I wouldn't see much point in paying someone for it, just like I don't see much point in paying for boosted post.
Using what's happening in.
Right. Yep. So, Joel, you had a question?
Yes, just curious about any specific recommendations you have regarding the type of content, whether it's the infographics or the pictures or some combination thereof. Is that specific to industry? Like I know you mentioned obviously kind of using current events, whether that's a holiday or something international like the Olympics or whatever Facebook happens to be kind of promoting at the time. But in terms of the actual content, does that just sort of depend on the industry that you're in?
It does, yeah. That depends on the company as far as what type of content you're going to put up. Are you familiar with the idea of creating an avatar, an ideal customer avatar? So you create, on paper, you give a name, a description, everything for your ideal customer. I actually have a form for this that I could send you off if you request it on the website. I can send it to you. And you put in everything about them. This ideal customer, if you had one person that was your perfect customer that was going to buy everything that you were selling, who would that person be? You put in their gender, you put in their weight, you put in their height, put in their favorite magazines, their favorite websites, what social media platform are they on, what groups are they in, what church do they attend or type of church do they attend, everything you can think of. What neighborhood do they live in, what kind of pets do they have, what kind of car do they drive, and just put all that out on one person that's your ideal customer. And then you can create a couple of those, but at least one. And then every piece of content that you create when you're deciding, okay, should I have an infographic, let's say for a home inspection, should I have an infographic that is on 10 things to expect from your home inspector, or should it be on 10 ways to avoid having a bad report from a home inspector? Which one do I have? Well, which one would this customer prefer to see? And so whichever one that customer prefers to see, that's what you put up. And there's I don't really teach that part of it a whole lot, but there's a lot of material out there on identifying your ideal customer and how to do that. And there's all kinds of free forms that you can download online for that. And I have one that I created that I could send you if you want it. So it's a good question though. Yes, I think that's what I brought for the kids a couple weeks back. Yeah.
Because that was my question too, like, so you're gonna do the content, you're gonna do one post a week, or one post.
Right.
You
So
know,
it
like
shouldn't
I'm-
just be my favorite things. It should be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm insurance, which is boring. He's pressure washing, so I mean, so what kind of things would you want to post to?
Right. Yeah, so you just identify your ideal customer and post something that would be helpful for them. So
Educating on something.
exactly, yep.
Him could be having a clean driveway or something.
Right. Yeah. So for insurance, you could post something about 10 things to look out for your benefits for health insurance. 10 warning signs to be concerned about. So check your company and see if you have these 10 things included. And if you don't, give me a call and get me in touch with your boss, and we'll get the benefits package that you need. And then include those 10, each one on a different slide. Pressure washing would be kind of easy because people like seeing before and after pictures. So you just put up a whole bunch of before and after pictures. That's what I would do mostly with pressure washing. Then sprinkle in through there a couple of infographics that can give people educational content. If you were to pressure wash your own driveway, what do you need? And just a list of what you need. And then they'll see that list and think, man, that's a lot. I don't want to do that. I'm just going to pay you. And so, yeah, yeah,
Don't want to have to do that. What they discount.
yep,
Or maybe educating why pressure washing your house is going to save you money in the long run or something.
right, yeah, how much,
It could be an
right.
info slide
Mhm.
versus a before and after.
Right, yep. And for pressure washing for your infographics, with each statement in your 10 things you're going to need to pressure wash your driveway, you can have a before and after picture as the background, and then put your text over top of that, and then you could do a different before and after picture for each one, or you could have the same one for all 10. So there's a lot that you can do with it.
When you're making the posts that are relevant for like the Olympics and Super Bowl, are you using hashtags to do that, or are you just putting the wording in your posts?
Right, yeah, hashtags are pretty much dead on Facebook. You can use them, but Facebook doesn't care if it has a hashtag in front of it or not. They're just looking for the words. So I just use those words in the post. And for the text, we'll get into a little more detail, but it's really easy nowadays to get good text for your post because you can just tell ChatGPT, hey, I want a post that talks about this. And you can tell it, and here's my contact info for my business, and create a post for my business that talks about this. And it'll create a post, have it all neat and organized, and have your contact info at the bottom and all that. And it's real easy nowadays. Now you want to check, because I cannot use ChatGPT for my business because ChatGPT will grab the most common answers for any given question that it can find off the internet. It won't do what I say. It does what all those other marketers say. And so if I go to ChatGPT and I say, hey, write an article about my 1-10-10 strategy, I've even taken it just to play around with it and see what I could do. I've even taken my whole outline that I'm giving to you, talking from tonight. I've put it into ChatGPT and I said, write a 1,000-page article off of this. And it will start out following my outline. About halfway through, it will change and start talking about what all these other marketers do and give that advice. And that's not what I want it to say. So you do have to check it. But it is very helpful for small amounts of text. Those little posts that you're creating, you just tell it what you want. It'll spit back an answer. If it's good, you use it. If it's not, you change it however you need to and then use it. So, but any other questions? We're going to get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty here, some of the details. Let me add a couple of questions, though, that y'all did not bring up. One question I get a lot is, which is better, photos or video? And people want to know about Facebook Reels. Everyone's talking about Facebook Reels. Shouldn't we be creating all these Reels, kind of like TikTok videos of us singing and dancing in front of our company logo? Should we be doing that? The answer is that videos can perform better than individual photos. And everywhere you look at how great video is, and all these articles and YouTube videos talk about how great video is for Facebook, they're always comparing that to individual photos or individual blog posts that are shared on Facebook. They never compare it to collections of photos. When you compare video to collections of photos, the collections of photos always win out. They get far more results than the video does. Nowadays, there's a way to put video with the collection of photos. And you can have like the first one or the third one that'll have a video. And as soon as they scroll up, that video starts playing. I tried that with several of my clients. I've tried putting that video right at the beginning. Those posts get fewer views than just the photos. Even though it's a video in the collection of photos, it still gets fewer views because people will pause when that video comes up on their screen. They'll pause for a little bit and they'll watch the video and say, that's not really interesting me. And then they'll keep scrolling. They won't tap to see more photos because they saw the video, decided from the video, it's not really interesting. And they just keep going. Whereas instead, if you put up just the photos, in order to decide it's not interesting, many times they have to tap to see what else is there first. And so you get that interaction. And then video is passive. If you have just a video that's on the screen and people scroll up and have the video playing, Facebook doesn't know if they're actually watching that video or if they just started it and set their phone down and walked away. They have no idea. And so they don't know if this person is actually engaged with that video. Whereas with the photo collection, you're swiping to the next photo, Facebook knows this person is engaged. And so they say, this post here, I know people are engaging in this post. This video over here, people might be engaging with it. And so when it comes down to it, they're going to elevate the post that they know people are engaged with. So those photo collections do a whole lot better than videos. However, video still has a place on Facebook. And so I don't think that you should just rule out video entirely. It is very beneficial for people that are searching for your services. And so maybe they see your post, they say, hey, I need that. I need a home inspection. I'm going to learn more about this company. So then they go to your page. And when they go to your page, it's very helpful to have video that's pinned up at the top of the page that introduces your company and tells them what they'll get when they have you come out. You know, show some home inspections, show what you're looking at. Maybe just take your camera with you or your cell phone, pull up and do some video. Show how you're checking to see if there's Chinese drywall there. And you know, stuff like that. People want to know that before they do business with that company. So that's where video is very helpful on Facebook.
TikTok, I think my TikTok quite all the time, but it seems like anytime I ever click the video on Facebook, there's like a little TikTok input down there too.
Mm-hmm.
Is that taking you off of Facebook?
Yes. Yep. If you're uploading to TikTok and then sharing that to Facebook, Facebook lowers that because TikTok is their competitor. They don't want to promote a post that takes them to TikTok or YouTube. I put a lot of video on YouTube, especially with my increasing learning business. And if I share from YouTube to Facebook, I don't get very many views. But if I put it straight to Facebook, I get a lot more views. And so they want people to be on their platform. They don't want them clicking to go over to YouTube. That's their competitor. They're fighting against them. But the video does have a purpose, and it's very important that you do have some video for your Facebook page. You want about 1 to 3 minutes as a pinned post. Do y'all know what a pinned post is? All right, so when you put a post on your page or go to your page, if you scroll down and before you get to your post, it will say pinned post or featured post. And those are the ones that you have told it to feature. So you can click on the 3 dots next to your video, the little 3 dots at the top right-hand corner, and you can tell Facebook to feature that or to pin it to the top, and it will put it up in those featured posts. So when anyone visits your page, they start scrolling down, the first thing they see are those featured posts and the pinned post at the top. So you want to have some video up there. You can have 3 or 4, you can have an unlimited amount up there, but it only shows like 3 at a time. So I would have 2 or 3 videos introducing your company that are going to be up there at the top. But you do not need videos for every single thing that you put out. Facebook Reels do well with a younger audience. Excuse me. So if your target market is a younger audience, then you probably want to be involved with Facebook Reels and TikTok and things like that. But most businesses are not advertising to the younger than 25 crowd. And then videos, when you do put up your videos, put subtitles with them. Videos need subtitles to be effective because on Facebook the videos autoplay, and you can turn it off, but most people just leave that on. So they're scrolling through and the video starts playing. Well, if they're sitting, a lot of people are watching, most people are on their phone for Facebook when they're at work. That's the most common time. So you have people saying, you need to post when people are active. If you want to do that, you post during the workday because that's when people are on their phone looking at Facebook. Well, they don't want the boss to know that they're watching videos, so they have the volume down. All right, so if your video has no subtitles, they just have moving images, no volume, and they're just going to keep scrolling. So if you're using video on Facebook, make sure you have subtitles because then they scroll up, they see the video, and they see the words come up, and they can understand what's going on.
Subtitles, just tell them, or put something to that.
You have to put it in through a video editing program. Now there is some AI that will do that for you. So if you have a short enough video, you can upload it to an AI program and have them do it. Most of those you have to pay for. I don't know of any free ones that do the video subtitles, but I use Adobe Premiere, but that's a paid product that you have to pay for. Canva, I think that will do subtitles on video. I haven't played with that too much, but I think Canva will also. Okay, so that's videos. The other question that I get a lot is which day is best for posting? Oh, forgot to mention, if you want to do video, a good company here in town to do video with is Down in Front Productions. Top-notch, very good quality. They're trying to grow their business side. They mainly have done sports productions, and so they're trying to grow more in the business area and do more business productions, business videos. So right now their rates are very low for that. So you can contact them, or most of y'all are all in the BNI. There's a guy from Down in Front that's in my BNI chapter, so I can get you in touch with him if you need. Down in Front Productions, DIFP, so Down in Front Productions. They're probably the best videographers for business in the Birmingham area right now. There are others, and there's others in other BNI groups, but I've looked at their stuff. It is really good quality. Okay, so the other question I get is which day is best for posting? The day that's best for posting is Monday. There's only one reason for that. That's because if you go join all these groups and you look at their rules for posting, about 50% of them will say business post only allowed on Mondays. I don't know why all of them decided that Monday is the best day for business post, but that's what a whole lot of them has decided. Now there are some outliers. There are a few in this area that say business posts should be on Tuesday. There's a few that say business posts are only on Saturday. If you're in real estate, there are a whole bunch that say real estate posts can only be on Sunday. I don't know why they picked any of those days. That's just, they decided we only want posts from businesses on this particular day. And the most common day is Monday. It's about half of them say Monday. About 48% of them don't say anything. They allow you to do it on any day. And then there's maybe 2% that pick another day other than Monday. Since about half of them say to do it on Monday, it's a lot easier to just do all this all at once. And so you could post on Monday and share to all the Monday groups, and then you can share to all the other groups on another part of them on Tuesday, and share to a few more groups on Wednesday, a few more groups on Thursday, but that's just extra work. So I figure if you're going to create it and start sharing it, just share it to all the groups all at one time. So Monday is the day that I advise people to do this. Another advantage of doing it all on one day is that gets a very high response on the very first day. And so that tells the algorithm right away, hey, this is a real popular post. And so the algorithm will boost it more and show it to more people. All right, some of the tips and tricks, little strategies that you can use. So the first one that I like to tell people is when you're taking your pictures, always use landscape mode. Generally, we hold up our cell phone and we hold it up vertical and we just snap a picture and we think, great, I'm done. I've got one client that's all he takes is vertical pictures. And I've told him we need landscape pictures and he doesn't listen and he just pulls it out and takes the pictures in portrait mode. The reason for that is because as human beings, our eyes are side by side. Our eyes are not one on top of the other. We're side by side. We view the world horizontally, not vertically. Because we view the world horizontally, when we see a vertical picture, our mind automatically thinks we're missing something. Part of this view is hidden from me because I'm only seeing this one little section of what should be this big spread. And so mentally, we just have an aversion to that. Now, vertical posts do well, or vertical photos do well in some instances. So for portraits, when a picture of a person does better in portrait mode. That's why it's called portrait mode, because it's mainly for taking portraits of people. Because in a portrait, you want to be focused in on one person with no distractions. And so putting it in that vertical format tells them you are to focus on this person and nothing else. And so it works well for that. It works well for tall things, like pictures of trees. If you have a Christmas tree business or Christmas decoration business, you want to take a picture of a Christmas tree, put that in portrait mode, because that tells people all the focus should be on this tall thing and I'm looking up and down. Okay, so that's vertical. It fits with what you're expecting in your mind. But for most photos, it's better to take landscape photos so that it's side to side and horizontal and easier for people to see and to comprehend in their mind. That's why in movies, for example, they don't have the theaters don't have vertical screens. They're going wider and wider and wider in the theater screens for that very reason. Okay, another thing, when you're taking your pictures, you want to take all your pictures that you've taken, pick out. I like to take 2 or 3 photos for each item that I'm gonna post. So if I'm taking product photos and I have a I don't know, let's say a computer, and I'm taking a product photo of the computer, and then I'm going to have another computer and another computer and another computer. So for each one, I'm going to take 2 or 3 pictures. The reason for that is if it's blurry, I don't want to have to sit down and going through my photos, and then I realize, oh, I've got a blurry photo of this one. This was the product I want to feature at the very first one, and it's blurry. I got to go back and take another picture. I don't want to do that. I want to have 2 or 3 pictures of each one so that if one of them is blurry, I can just delete that one. I can pick the best one and choose that. You pick the best pictures for each item that you're taking pictures of, throw them into a folder, and you want to organize them before you put them on Facebook. You can organize after you get them on Facebook. It's a whole lot easier to organize on your computer before you put it on Facebook. So I throw them in a folder on my computer and I number them. I pick whichever photo I want to be the leading photo in that spread, that collage. And I'll number that one 01. And it automatically goes to the beginning, and at least on Windows, it'll automatically go to the beginning of the folder. And then I'll pick something else that I want to be the next photo. I'll choose the best 4 photos of the whole lot, and I'll number those 01, 02, 03, and 04. Those are the eye-catching ones that I want people to look at and say, oh, we want to see more. And I'll put those as the first 4 photos, and I'll arrange it that way before I transfer it to Facebook. Then you open up your Facebook page, drag them over to your post. Oh, sorry, I forgot a section. At the end, the very last photo, you want to be a branded photo. So after you have your photos that you're going to put up, you want to have for that post, you want to have a photo that has your contact information on it. And it can be the same photo every single time. For my dad's thrift store, we have different discounts that are every single week's a different color that's discounted. And that color code is put on a photo of the store. And I just use the same photo every single time, and that's the last picture in every single photo collage. So when they get to that last picture, it does 2 things. It tells them this is the end. You can stop going. You can go on to something else now. And people appreciate that because otherwise, on the computer anyway, not so much on the phone, but on a computer, if you're just clicking to the next photo, next photo, next photo, next photo, Facebook doesn't stop when it gets to the end. It just starts over. And so if you have, I've had sometimes where I've had as many as 50 pictures in a collage. And so they've gone through 50 photos. They may not remember that first one. And so they get to the first one, they're like, haven't I seen this before? And they keep, haven't I seen this one? Haven't I seen this before? And then they get frustrated and they don't think kindly of your business anymore because they got frustrated. So you put a branded photo at the very end just to let the customer know, hey, it's over, it's done. You can leave and you can go to something else now. And that just makes it easier on the customer. But also, you put a branded photo at the end that has your business logo, your contact info, so that they know exactly who to contact about the photos they were just looking at. They may not remember from the very beginning which page they were looking at all these photos from, and they get to the very end, it's, oh, I'm talking to, you know, in this case on the example here, I'm talking to Jill and Greg Williams, the real estate agents. Okay, there's their website, jillandgreg.com. Let me go there right now. Or there's the phone number. Let me call them right now. So you want to put that as the very last photo. To make it easy in your organization on the computer, I always have that photo labeled as ZZ. That way it's always going to be at the end. So the name of that photo on my computer is ZZ. And I have a ZZ photo for every single client. And what I'll do is I have that photo in the main client file, and I'm creating the pictures that I'm going to post in another folder, and I'll just drag and drop the ZZ into that folder to copy rather than moving it. I'll right click to drag it and copy it into that folder. So I have a new ZZ that's now in this folder. And then when I'm finished with the post, I can delete that folder if I want to, and I don't have to worry about losing my branded graphic. But I just have that at the end of every single collage. Okay, so then you want to drag the photos to your Facebook post. When you do that, it has the option there to edit all of the photos. So you drag them over, it will show you the first 4 with the 5th one shaded and the number over it and all that. If you hover your mouse over it, it will pop up saying edit all or add photos. If you forgot to put something in there, you can click add photos and you can add a new one at the end. If your order is not quite right, you want to change the order, you click edit all, you can rearrange them when it comes up to this screen here. What I like the most about the edit all button is that it lets me put captions on all the photos before I put the post live. It took me a little while. I'm kind of slow on this particular area, so it's kind of embarrassing to mention, but it took me a while to figure out that I could edit all and put the caption on there. I was posting things for products for sale, and I was having to post it, and then I'd go back and add a comment to each one after it's already live, and I'm commenting saying, here, this is the price, and this is the price of this one, this is the price of this one. By the time I get to the 3rd one, people are already looking at the 4th and 5th picture, and they're asking me, what's the price? How much is it? So my messenger's blowing up, the notifications are blowing up, and I'm getting all frustrated. Quit asking and let me put the price on there. But you can do it all beforehand. You just click that edit all button. You can put whatever captions you want with the photos before it goes live, and that'll save you a lot of headaches. Eventually, I did figure that out. All right, and then I did mention earlier, if you don't have the physical products, you can use the infographics and use that. Okay, so the next thing after you put your photos in your post, you want to add text at the top of the post. So it'll have the photos there, and it'll have a section for you to put text. Make sure you put something in there. If you just have the photos and you have no text for the post, some of the groups have rules that are automatically denying posts that don't have text attached to them, because they get all kinds of scams. And so if it doesn't have text, they're just going to automatically deny it, and it's never going to show up. So always put text there. I always recommend putting your website, your web address there. I know that Facebook doesn't like people clicking off the page, but if you just have your web address there at the bottom of the text, it's really not going to get people stopping looking at the collage. They're going to look at the collage first, and then they're going to decide, oh, I need to go visit this website, and they'll click on it. So you'll get the benefit of them interacting with it before they leave Facebook and go to your page. So it doesn't usually penalize you for just having a web address at the end of the text. Now you want to make sure that you have your pictures on there before you put the text, especially if you put a web address, because then it will pop up the link to that web address as a picture. You can get rid of it. You can just click the X button and it will go away, and then you can add your pictures. But that's an extra step. I like saving time, so put the pictures on first, then go back and put the text at the top. If you don't have, or another thing to put on that text is to put your phone number. Facebook has a call now button that they can have enabled, and you might have to change the settings in your page. But if you have your phone number in your about settings, and sometimes they require you to also have the phone number in the text, sometimes they don't require you to have the phone number in the text. But if you have it both in your about section and in the text of the post, you're guaranteed that if you have this feature turned on, they will ask you when you post it, do you want to have a call now button at the bottom of your post? And you always want to say yes and have your phone number, so that when people are looking at the post, there's a call now button right there. They can tap that button. Immediately it will pull up their phone dialer and call your company, and you can get the sale right away. So always want to have a phone number associated with your post. Some of my clients, I don't have to have the phone number in the post. Some of them I have to have it in the post in order to trigger that. I don't know why Facebook is glitching. Some of them are one way, some are the other, but just to be safe, I always include a phone number in the post. All right, and then one thing to keep in mind, people are going to make comments on your post. You always want to reply to every single comment. The algorithm penalizes pages that do not interact with their customers. So if the customers are interacting with you, you need to respond in kind and interact with them. It doesn't necessarily have to be a comment that you type out for every comment that a customer makes or a potential customer makes. If someone says something on your post, you can at least click the like button underneath their comment. And you can see this one. This is a post from my art gallery client. They are exceptionally good at this. They go through and they click like on every single one of them. Any people ask a question, they very quick to respond to those questions. That makes a huge difference in the algorithm. If you are not interacting with the people that are interacting with your content, then Facebook will penalize you. You'll go from thousands and thousands of views down to hundreds of views and eventually down to just your followers again. So you want to make sure that you're interacting and responding to those comments. It doesn't necessarily have to be you, the business owner. You could have anyone in your Facebook page settings. You can approve anyone to respond to those comments and give them permissions to interact as the page. They have to be interacting as the page. So I've seen a lot of businesses, the owner's wife or the owner's brother or sister or someone like that will just come in and respond to everything, but they're responding from their personal profile. And so the page doesn't get any benefit from that. Facebook just says, oh, random people are responding on your content. Why aren't you responding on your content? And they still get penalized because they're not the ones responding. It has to be responding as the page, not a personal account from either yourself or someone else. But you can give permission to anyone you want to be able to respond as your page. All right, so the groups, I did talk already about how to find the groups. You can use the search bar at the top of Facebook, the top left, there's a search bar. You can type in the what's happening, look for those groups. Some things to keep in mind, I prefer to look for groups that have over 1,000 members. The more members in the group, the more people that will see your post. If a group has fewer than 1,000 members, it's really not worth the time. It may be a group that you really like and you want to be in there anyway. I've got some clients that they only want to focus on a very narrow, small area, and there's not very many groups in that little bitty area that they want to focus in. And so I'll join, no matter how many people are in the group, I'm going to join that group if it's in that area because it's very limited. But for clients that are across the whole Birmingham metro or across the whole state, or even I've got some that are across the whole nation, I don't care about these groups that have less than 1,000 people in them. I'm looking for the big groups. Ideally, you want 10,000 plus, but you're not always going to find enough of those. So at least 1,000 people in the group. You also want to look, when you search for the group and it pulls up, Facebook will give you some information right away about that group. One thing it will tell you is how many members. It will also tell you how many posts they have per day. If there's a whole lot of posts, it will tell you how many posts they have per month instead of per day. And it'll say 2.3 thousand posts per month. So, something like that might be too many posts. You'll just get lost in the morass there. But ideally, you want at least one post per day. If the group is not getting one post per day, it's probably a dead group. And there might be one or two people that are posting stuff in the group and that are paying attention to what's going on in the group. So it's just a waste of time if they don't have at least one post per day. I like to see 10, 15, 20 posts per day, plus even more than that, but at least one post per day in that group before you join it. When you are considering joining, when you search for the group, you can see in the example there that there is a join button off to the right-hand side of the name of the group. Don't click that. Go to the group. Click on the group's name and go into the group itself, and there will be an About section. It's usually on the right-hand side, and it gives you a little bit of a description of the group, and it will have a see more button. You click see more to see more information in the about section, and then it will show you all the rules for that group. And there are groups that don't want businesses posting, and they'll say, do not post from your business, big all caps, we do not want your business here, stuff like that. Or they'll say, do not post if your business is not located in this city. And so if you're posting to multiple groups all across the area, you're going to be posting groups where you're not in that city. And so if they say only businesses located in this area are allowed to post, then just don't join that group. If they say we do not want businesses here, you don't join that group. And so you want to be able to read those rules, make sure you can comply with the rules. Now, there is a rule that is in every single group that says no spam. That's just a default rule that Facebook throws in there. Most of them do not consider a one business post a week to be spam. There are some really crazy people out there that think if you put a single business post one time, you're spamming them, and they'll kick you out of the group. And those I just leave the group and don't worry about. But most of them, they'll have that thing up there that says no spam, but that does not mean that they don't want any business posts. That just means they don't want someone coming in and hitting 2 or 3 posts every single day for their business. They don't want to be flooded with your business. So as long as you're respectful, you just put up 1 post a week, they're not going to consider it spam, and you can keep doing that. You can ignore that rule, but always read the rules in the Learn More section or the Learn More from that About section on the right. All right, one thing I recommend is that you create a spreadsheet of all the groups that you join. At this point in time, when you go to your page and you create your post and you click the share button, you can then choose to share in groups. And when you do that, Facebook puts up a whole list of all the groups that you're joined in. And you can just go one after another. And you just go through that whole group, that whole list, you click one, and then you have to copy and paste your text, and then you click share. And you share again, groups, choose which group, copy and paste your text, and then click post. And you do it all over again for every single group. But that list stays the same and in the same order every time. That's right now. That hasn't always been the case. There have been times where Facebook would not show you all the groups. And so you click the groups, and it just shows the top 3 or 4 that you've been active in the most recently. And in order to see the other groups, you have to type them in to the name, and then it will show you the other group. And if they were to enact that policy again, you want a list of all the groups that you're in so you know which groups to type in. And so have a spreadsheet where you have all those names. Another thing that they have done in the past, and they've done it off and on for over the past 10 years, just off and on, and randomly they'll do this, where that list doesn't stay in the same order. And so you click share, you click group, you click the first group, and then you click share, you click group, and it's a different group that's first. And so if you don't keep track of which ones you've already shared in, you won't know. And you might end up sharing in the same group 3 times in one day, and they say, oh, it's just spam, and they kick you out. So if you have a spreadsheet, you have a list, you can just check for each group as you share into it. You can just check it off, say, I've done this one, and then that way you don't have to worry about sharing multiple times in the groups if Facebook changes the rules. There's also another rule that I'll look at, or another change Facebook has made from time to time, we'll look at in just a minute, that applies to that, where, again, having a list is very helpful. All right. There we go. All right, on the top of your page. This has nothing to do with the 1-10-10 strategy. This is just good Facebook etiquette, good ways to make your business look good on Facebook. When people first go to your page, so let's say you're having some success, people are seeing your post in these groups, they want to hire you to do whatever, or they're considering it at least. Before they hire you, they're probably going to go to your Facebook page and look at what you have there. And I already mentioned you want to have those videos pinned as the pinned post at the top. But something that's very important is that first photo across the top. That's your cover photo for your page. You want to make sure you have a good cover photo for your brand, something that fits your brand. This is an example of one of the clients that I had that I taught how to do this. This is what they had the first time. Shelby Auto Service, they're just down the road here. When I initially came and helped them out with their Facebook page, this is what they had as their cover photo. What is about 75% of that photo? Parking lot. Who wants a parking lot? That's not what their business is. Their business is not parking lots. Their business is auto service. And so when people go to that page, the first thing they see is lots of empty parking lot. Maybe it's empty because they don't have much business, because they're bad. We don't want to go there. So you don't want a photo like that. There are some things they could have changed it to. Let me show you, I'm photoshopping these in, but let me show you some things they could have done that I've seen other businesses do. They could have put a picture of their sign. I've seen a lot of people, their cover photo is just a picture of their sign. That just screams low quality. People see that, they think, wow, these people have no clue what they're doing. This is just some random person that created this Facebook page that doesn't know what he's doing. That's not professional. And so they just say, next, we're going to the next group or the next page, and they ignore it. They could have done something like this. This is a picture from their shop. This is a picture they put in one of their posts, and it is a great picture for putting in the post because it shows what they do. They're repairing this truck. They've got the hood open, someone's working the engine. The full picture shows, parts of the truck on the ground around it, and so they could have put this up there. The problem is, who wants a broken down truck? No one goes to the auto shop in order to get a broken down truck. They go to the auto shop so that their car runs better, not so that it can be broken down. Now, true, the auto shop is going to have to raise the hood and take things out and work on stuff. That's what they do, but that's not what you want. So what you want your cover photo to be is the result that your customer is going to get from working with you. And that's what they did here. And so they have this real nice, fancy looking truck that's out in front of their business, and you can see their sign in the background, Shelby Auto Service, and it's this nice truck. And any red-blooded man in America goes to this page, they're gonna say, I want that truck. So that's what you want. So that's the result that the customer is going to get from going to their shop. They get a good running car. So they did a good job with that. So whatever your business is, you want to have some type of photo that epitomizes what the customer will get if they use your service or if they buy your product, and that should be your cover photo for your Facebook page. Now you also want the profile picture. That's that little round picture that's below the profile photo to the left. If you're looking at it on a computer, on a phone screen, it's right in the middle, just down at the bottom of the profile photo or the cover photo. You want to make sure that, I don't have it on there. You want to make sure that your profile picture is very simple and very easy to identify. I've seen a lot of people put a lot of text in their profile photo. You don't want a lot of text in that photo because that photo gets really, really small in some places on Facebook. That's going to always be next to your name, anywhere your name shows up on Facebook. So if you're leaving a comment and you have the name of your page right there saying so-and-so left a comment, and it's got that profile picture right next to it. And so if your profile picture is a whole bunch of text about your business, or it could be a logo surrounded by text, no one's going to be able to read that text. And whatever pictures were in there with text around them, you're not going to be able to see the picture very well. So what you want is a very simple line drawing type of photo that people can zoom in on or can see even when it's in small print. They can still understand what's going on, identify it as you. Now, if you are your personal brand, if say you're a consultant, then it might be a picture of you. But most often it's not, you don't want a picture of the owner because the owner in many cases is not going to be the one interacting with the customers. So it doesn't make sense for them to be able to identify the owner and point him out in a crowd. So in most cases you want a logo, and you want the logo to be something very simple, a very simple picture that people identify. Every time they see that logo, they're going to think, I know that company. All right, also on your Facebook page, you also want to have the intro section filled out. You can edit it from the intro section on the main page. A lot of the information it's easier to get to by going to the About page and just editing your About page, make sure everything's filled in. And you want to make sure that you have a brief description in your intro. You can see in this example here, this is from my page, and it just says helping businesses harness the power of social media. So it's a very simple statement because Facebook changes how many characters they allow in that intro section. In the past, they allowed a whole bunch of characters. You could have that intro section be a whole paragraph, and they would show it all right there. Currently, for most pages, they only allow about 100 characters right there. And now you can put in a whole paragraph, but they will only show about 100 characters. And so if you have a whole paragraph put in, and they might cut it off in the middle of a word. And that does not look professional. Someone's coming to your page, and it says, it's right there, helping businesses harness the power of social media without having to pay for and it doesn't finish with having to pay for ads. So you don't want it to cut off. You want to keep that short and sweet. So I recommend less than 100 characters because that's where Facebook is going right now. The reason I think that they're going to less than 100 characters is because most people are on Facebook on their cell phones nowadays, and that intro section appears immediately underneath your name and your profile photo in the middle of the cell phone screen at the top of the page, and they don't want it to go down to the next line of the phone. They want it to just be one line across the phone, and that's about 100 characters. So that's where they are at the moment. So check that periodically, make sure it looks good. You also want to check your categories, and every page on Facebook is required to choose a category when you create the page, and most people just choose one category. Right now, Facebook allows you to have 3 categories. The more categories you have selected, the more you will show up in search results. So when people go on a Facebook page and they search for a plumber, if you have a plumbing company and you are in the plumbing category, then it'll show up there. But if you also do HVAC work, as well as plumbing, or let's say you'll do gas fittings, and if Facebook had a category for HVAC work or for gas fittings, and you're not in that category, you won't show up when someone searches for that. So you want to choose as many categories as you're able to do. Right now, that's 3. When I first started the marketing company, Facebook only had one marketing category that I could choose. And I went back and checked just yesterday, and now they have 3 marketing categories that I can put my page into. So I went back and I selected the other 2. And so now I can show up more often. And it's different types of marketing. One's just advertising marketing, another one's marketing consultant, which I teach, so marketing consultant. And then there's one that's just marketing. And so I'm now in all 3 of those categories. So just check that periodically, make sure you're in all of the categories that you actually provide. Service businesses, you need to have your service address or service areas listed. Those that have physical location that you want people to come to, say a retail store or something, you want to have your physical address listed in the About page so that people know if they should call you or if you're going to be outside of their area. I called a plumber the other day because he was recommended to me by a friend. He's just over in the, I think he's over in the Chelsea area, and said, hey, I get this problem, I want you to come do it. He says, great, give me your address, I'd be happy to do it. Gave him the address, said, I don't work in that area. So it's nice to know that before you contact them. It's very frustrating to get contacted, and they might just leave a bad review. I would have used these people, but they don't service my area. I'm just so many miles outside of where they service, and I don't know why they can't, and then you get a negative review on Facebook, which then gets transferred over to Google, and you don't want that. So put ahead of time, put your service areas on your Facebook page in the About section or your address if you're a local retail business. Make sure all of your contact info is provided. A lot of people that are in the service-based business, they don't put their hours of operation. So in particular, like consultants, they don't put their hours of operation because a business coach, for example, he thinks, I'm available 24/7. My clients can call me anytime. They might put 24/7 on there. Most times they just don't put anything. Well, when you don't have anything or when you have 24/7 on there, the customer doesn't know if it's okay to call you. And they look, let's say 10 o'clock at night, they have some questions, they want to call a business coach and see if they can set something up, and they look and it says nothing about hours of operation. Well, is it okay to call them now? And then they'll look at the next one. Let me just look at a few more. And they look at the next one. The next one says hours of operation are from 10 o'clock to 8 o'clock every day and say, okay, I'll just bookmark this one, I'll call this one 10 o'clock in the morning, and they'll decide on that one. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the hours that you're available for your clients, but it needs to be the hours that you want to be contacted. So always include hours of operation that you want your clients or potential clients to contact you. That just tells them this is a time where if you call, I'll either answer right away, or if I don't answer right away, you leave a message and I will get back to you very quickly. Versus, if you leave a message, I might get back to you in a couple of days. So always include your hours of operation, no matter what your business. Include your website in this About Us section, and just include one website. There's one client I helped, they had like 5 different websites listed in their About section, and half of those, or 2 out of the 5 didn't go to anywhere. They click on it, automatically it's a broken page. And so I told them, get rid of all these websites, just choose one. You don't want your customer, and the 3 that were good, they basically said the same thing. I don't know why they had 3 different websites, but they had 3 different websites they were sending their customers to. I said, just pick one, make it easy for the customer to go. So put a website and just put one. If you have lots of websites, there's this software out there called Linktree. You can use a Linktree, and I know a lot of public figures, they have their Instagram page, their Facebook page, their TikTok page, and everything, and they want to put all of those in their About section of the Facebook. Just create a Linktree, and it's just a website that has links to everything, all their different pages, social media, blogs, and everything, YouTube, and you just put the web address for that Linktree in your About section, and then people can click on that, and then they can choose which one of those areas they want to go to from there. It's just to make it easy for the customer. You don't want to make things confusing for the customer. Just make it very easy for them to reach out to you and make them feel comfortable. Okay, you want to also turn on, ask for, and monitor your reviews in most cases. So in most cases, most businesses, you want to have reviews enabled. It's enabled by default, I think, on Facebook. You can turn that off, but you want to have that on if at all possible. But you do want to monitor your reviews. There are a lot of scammers out there that will go and leave reviews on the Facebook page, and their review is, let's say we're talking about Joel's Facebook page, and Joel is the only person in the company, and their review will be, hey, Rachel was such a big help for me. She helped me save a whole bunch of money. You should just call her today at this number. And it's not his company's number, it's someone else's number. And it's a scammer trying to get people to invest in gold or whatever. And so you want to watch out for those, monitor your reviews every now and then, make sure none of those are there. If they are, you can report that person to Facebook, and if enough people report them, they'll get deleted. You can also block that person. I don't think at the moment Facebook allows you to delete the review, but you can at least block the person, and they'll never be able to interact with your page anymore. And if you report it first, don't block first, because if you block first, you can't report. Report the person first, and then you can block. And there's the 3 little dots. That's what you select on to choose to report or to block. You can turn off the reviews. There are some businesses that you want to turn off the reviews. We turned them off for my dad's thrift store because it's in a rough area of town, and so a lot of people in that area of town would just randomly get mad at the store for this or that and go in and tell all their friends, go leave a bunch of bad reviews. And so we kept getting bad reviews, and it was just too much of a headache, so we turned them off. And people understood. Anyone coming to our store, they realized it's a rough part of town. It's not an area that you want to have reviews turned on for your business. None of the businesses in that, or very few of them, have any way for people to leave reviews because of that. All right, so that's all for the About page. Outside links. Oh, I didn't have a slide for that. Outside links, your Facebook page, you want to make sure that it's prominently linked on your website. If you're trying to get more traffic to your Facebook page, don't do what most people do and require folks to scroll all the way to the bottom of your page before they see a link to your Facebook page. Most web designers, they put it way down at the bottom in the contact information. Instead, put it at the very top of the page. So that what's called the header of the page instead of the footer of the page. So it's very easy if you're not doing your website yourself, you have a web designer that does it for you, just call them and say, hey, can you put my Facebook link in the header? And he'll say, sure, and he'll go and make a change. It's very simple to do that. And you want to put that up at the header so that when people first come to your website, they immediately see, oh, they're on Facebook. I can go right here to go to their Facebook page. So always do that. In your Google, Bing, Yelp, and other areas where you're listed online, include your Facebook link there. Google allows that, Yelp allows that. A lot of those will go to your Facebook page on their own, find your reviews, and bring your Facebook reviews over to their site. So if someone leaves a good review on Facebook, Google will also show that review in your Google reviews. And so you want to link your Facebook page to those things so that you can take advantage of that. LinkedIn also allows you to add Facebook links to your business page. I recommend most businesses get a LinkedIn page. If you just do business to consumer retail, you probably don't need a LinkedIn page. But just about everyone else needs a LinkedIn page. And the reason for that is that's where most of your professionals are going to go to find information about your business. They're going to go to LinkedIn rather than to Facebook. So, but you can include your Facebook page in your LinkedIn business profile. And then I always recommend that folks create a QR code for their Facebook page. Something that says, thank you for your business, leave us a review, and then have the QR code. You can create QR codes online very easy. There's lots of places that will give you a free QR code for your website. And it just makes it easy for customers to leave a review. For retail stores, you just put it next to the cash register, a little sign. Go leave us a review on Facebook and have the QR code. 90% of your customers will know what to do, and they'll scan it and go leave a review. I would put that QR code on any of your thank you for closed business emails or letters. It's not as important in emails because they can just click with the mouse. But if they're on a work computer and the email has a QR code at the end, they can grab their cell phone and their personal phone and scan that QR code and go to it there. And that now you have a personal device connecting to your page instead of just the business device. So you get more views. That triggers the algorithm. This is more popular and it will show it to more people. And I think, yeah, that's all I got there. All right. So that QR code is very helpful. I always recommend that you have that. All right, a couple of bonus things, just very quickly. Well, before we get to the bonus, let me stop for more questions. I've given a lot of information there, so I see a lot of people writing. So any other questions about what we just talked about? All right, no questions. So either I've overwhelmed you all or, or you're all lost. All right, two little bonus things real quick. Sometimes there are restrictions that Facebook puts up because they don't really want businesses to get around having to pay for ads. Facebook wants you to pay for ads in order to get views for your content. And so as you do this, sometimes they're going to throw up some roadblocks. I've been doing this, like I said, I've been on Facebook since 2004. If you know the history of Facebook, that's when it started. So I've been on Facebook ever since the beginning. And so I've been through every little algorithm change, every little tweak that they've done. I know how to get around most of the restrictions that they put up. There's one, though, that is kind of the most frustrating, and that is sometimes Facebook puts a restriction on sharing into groups. And since this whole thing is based off of sharing into groups, that can be very frustrating. A while back, I think it was late 2018, maybe 2019, Facebook decided that a business page can only share into 3 groups for each post. So you put a post up, you're allowed to share it into 3 groups, and that is it. And that would have killed our marketing campaign if we had been limited to that number of groups. So I figured out a way around it. If you just go to your page and look at the post that you want to share, and it will have a time signature underneath it. It'll have your name, your business name, and underneath it will have the date or the time for when that post went live. If you click on that date or time that's underneath your page name on that post, it will go directly to that post in another it'll refresh another page and go to just that post page. There will be a URL across the top, the web address that's across the top of your browser. You can copy that URL, and then you can just go to any group you want to and paste that URL into that group. And it will immediately have the link into that group to your post that you had on your page. And it will still track it. I was concerned when I first did it that they wouldn't track and I wouldn't get any metrics from those shares where I copied and pasted the URL. But it showed up in all the metrics just like it was before. And there's really no way Facebook could block that because they're not going to block the URL. That's what you have to have in order to see the post. So you just copy the post and then you can go put it in their thing. So there's solutions like that to everything.
So they still only allow you to share into 3 groups? So you're joining all these groups?
No, they were doing that back in 2018, 2019, and very quickly they realized this wasn't working, and so they stopped that at that point. They may bring it back, that's why I mention it. But for now, you can share in as many groups as you want. Another thing, joining the group as a page. You should always join the group as your page, if at all possible, but some groups don't want you to join as a page. There's a group in Trustful, and they've got, I don't know, it's like 35 or 40,000 members. It's a very popular group, but they don't allow businesses to join. Only individuals can join that group. And so there's 2 ways around that restriction. If you really want to share in that group, and for our thrift store, it was just down the road from Trustful, we wanted to be able to share in that group. So if you really want to share in a group like that, what you can do is you can either join it as your personal page, your personal account, go and join that group as an individual, and then you just share from the business page under your personal account to that group. You can do it that way. Another thing that I've done in the past is I've created a dummy account. I created an account that's Joe Thrifter. And Joe Thrifter is a guy that loves thrift stores, and he loves thrift stores so much that he joins these groups and he shares the deals he finds at my dad's thrift store. And so that's a fake persona that I created just so that we could share in some of those groups. You can do that. Facebook kind of frowns on it. They might decide to delete that account and then you just create another one. But they've never deleted that one, and it's been around for a couple of years. So you can do that and get around that restriction that way. So there's always a way around. So if you get to a point where you're trying to follow this strategy and something's not working, there is a way around it, and to keep going on with the strategy. You can figure it out yourself. You can reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you with any of that, and keep going with that. And let's see, that's all the slideshow. Okay, so the water filtration company. Back at the beginning, mentioned them. They were my first client. They're not my most successful client. My most successful client, though, was my dad's thrift store. Went up to 30,000 to 50,000 views. It took about 4 years to get to that point. So starting out, we got about 1,000 views per post, and then 2,000, 3,000. Kept building. Eventually grew to 10,000 likes after about 4 or 5 years, or 10,000 followers is what they're called now, and 30 to 50,000 views every single post. So as you're doing this and following this strategy, don't expect to get that 30 to 50,000 right away. But it is possible. That is the potential that you can reach on down the road. And then you can look at your graph and see what we were showing with those other companies. We have all these really tall bars every single week of how your post is doing. And with my dad's page, the thrift store, remember I mentioned that it's a very competitive market here. Thrift stores all over the place. In Facebook, at least they used to. I haven't checked to see if they still do, but Facebook used to let you monitor your competitors. And you could look at how their posts were doing and get their metrics were doing. And you could go, as your page, it had a place where you could choose 3 or 4 other businesses similar to you and just compare yourself to them on your page. And so I was doing that with my dad's thrift store, and we started outpacing all the national thrift store brands, where we were doing better on Facebook with a single little bitty thrift store with no marketing budget, and we're doing better than Goodwill, Salvation Army, America's Thrift, all these big thrift store brands that are in this area and also nationwide, and we were far surpassing them in interactions and in views, even though they were using paid ads and we were just doing this strategy. So it works really, really well. And I hope that all of y'all have as much success as I did on it. So any other questions before we close it out?
One, when we, like if you do a post and say, keep trying to create new content, but well, somebody hasn't seen what you posted 6 months ago, they're probably not going to go back and look at it. Can you kind of refresh that? You can just take a copy of the URL and post it like it's all brand new again, so people who probably didn't see it, that you get more views now you just refresh it.
Right, yes, I do that a lot. I refresh old content that's did really well in the past, and so then I won't share it from that same URL though, the same post. I'll recreate that same post. And so for me, I don't delete anything on my computer pretty much. And my wife laughs at me all the time, and she'll see my crowded list of all these pictures that I've taken. And you need to get rid of some of those. Well, I might use them again. So I hold on to all of them. I have it all organized. I have it all organized by company that I posted it for, by the date that I last shared it, and a description of what those photos are and what that ad was. And so as I'm going back through and think, oh, this one did really well, let me go find it again. It's very easy. I can go find it, and I just copy those photos again into a new post on Facebook, and I'll use different text. If you use the same text above the photos, Facebook doesn't really like it. They just say, you're just rehashing something old. So I'll take the text from the original and I'll throw it into ChatGPT and I'll say, refresh this text. And it'll just reword it, say the same thing in different words. The text at the top. Yeah, at the top of the post. So what's with the individual photos, those captions, that I haven't seen any problem with reusing the captions. But the text at the top needs to be refreshed. And then you use the same photos, some fresh text, throw it back on there, and you can get all the good results all over again. Just naming the folders. Yeah, so the folder name will be, it's in a folder under the client because I have multiple clients. And then the folder name will be the date and a brief 2 or 3 word description of what that post was about. And so I can go back and look at any date, and it's sorted by the name, so it's sorted by those dates. And I can look at what that date was, what the content was, and I'll know, open that folder, use those pictures. So, good question though. Yep. Any others? Yeah. I just gave y'all a very busy week, didn't I? You're welcome. All right. Well, thank you all very much for coming.